Hey, my name's Tom, and about half a year ago, I quit my job back home in Germany. I left everything I had behind to go on a 5-month adventure across 7 countries, and this is my story. In the previous episode, I checked out Kaikoura, New Zealand's whale-watching hotspot. As it wasn't yet whale-watching season, I took a closer look at some seal colonies and got to see the tremendous effect that the 2016 earthquake had on Kaikoura's coastline, before making my way north to Blenheim. I fully embraced my stay in Blenheim, as so many memories were coming up of my previous stay in New Zealand about 10 years ago, when I spent about 2 months working in the NZ wine capital. I also checked out a pretty outstanding aviation museum and of course did some hiking before heading off to Nelson, where I visited what was formerly believed to be the geographical center of New Zealand. After 2 quick days in Nelson, I again headed north to see the Abel Tasman National Park.
So good morning everyone, it's super early and right behind me is the southern entry point of the Abel Tasman National Park, because in about an hour or so, I arrived here very early to be in time, in about an hour or so I'll be boarding a water taxi that brings me to Medlands Beach, which is one of the various drop-off points you can have in Abel Tasman National Park. And it's about on the midway point between the southern and the northern entry point of Abel Tasman National Park, and from there on I'll be hiking for something 18-20 kilometers or so all the way down to this entry point here that's right behind me. So this will be my second time in the Abel Tasman National Park. When I was here the first time 10 years ago, I did the upper part. I got super lucky. For some coincidence we had the chance to do basically the midway point and then all the upper part, which is considered to be the more beautiful part, but usually you can't do it as a day hike. So we just had the very convenient situation that we met friends along the way who did all the way from top to bottom, and we just got their car keys and we could drive back all the way down. So basically by now doing the bottom part of the Abel Tasman, I did all of the Abel Tasman, so I completed one of the great walks. But yeah, I did it in kind of 2 steps and 10 years apart. Anyways, let's get to the ferry and then all the way into Medlands Beach.
Right, we've got Marianne and Sherelle on board as our crew today. Now, just a bit of safety information for this boat first off. It's not necessary to wear a life jacket on a boat of this size, but in the highly unlikely event of an emergency, we have 200 life jackets stored on board, and we've got life rings and other flotation devices strapped to the boat, so we're very well catered for.
The famous Split Apple Rock is only one of the sights to see when taking the water taxi along the coast of the Abel Tasman National Park. In general, the 20 minutes or so taxi ride to Medlands is stunning, with an abundance of great scenery and wildlife. Once I was dropped at Medlands, I immediately started my way south through a lush tropical landscape with plenty of beaches along the way. The Abel Tasman Coast Trek is one of the 6 great walks in New Zealand. Those walks are typically multi-day hikes, but as explained earlier, Abel Tasman is one of those where visitors are still able to embrace the beauty of this trek in one day. Abel Tasman offers plenty of opportunities to cool down in the insanely blue and beautiful sea. As I had only limited time to reach the southern exit point of the park before it closed its gates, it was only enough for a short dip into the cold coastal waters. Just before ending the walk, I randomly bumped into Danielle, who I met earlier on my trip in Queenstown. We met up later that evening and decided to explore the beautiful Golden Bay area together on the following day. The next day, we set off to the Golden Bay area. On the way, we visited the Te Waikoropupu Springs, which are a highly sacred ground in the Maori culture and incredible to see. As I had read a lot about those springs, it gave me the opportunity to flood Danielle with all the unnecessary knowledge I had accumulated about this place.
It's cool because you can actually see how the water kind of comes out. It discharges 14,000 cubic meters a second of fresh water, and that makes it the biggest drinking water spring in New Zealand. And also, I think it's the largest freshwater spring in all of the Southern Hemisphere. It has among the best visibilities in all of the world when it comes to water. Better is only one lake at Nelson Lakes, which is Lake Blue or Blue Lake something. That has up to 80 meters or so visibility, and this one has 63. And if you
Done with the springs, we headed further north to the Golden Bay, basically the most northern point of the South Island.
They're all coming. You made a mistake. Yeah, because he saw that you gave them some food.
The vast beaches are once again a testament of the incredible variety in landscape that New Zealand offers. We strolled around the beaches and sat down in a cave that most people on this planet had already seen without knowing, as the view from this cave is one of the Windows Wallpapers. After chasing my hat that got blown away by the intense wind gusts, it was time to leave this place, and sadly also time to say goodbye to Danielle once again, and this time for good, as her way led her straight to the North Island, while I was headed to one of the last highlights I really looked forward to see on the South Island, the Nelson Lakes.
So it's the next day. I just arrived to St. Arnaud. Now I'm on one of the DOC campsites, so Department of Conservation campsites, where you just put a couple of bucks in, like $10 for a night for an adult. It's a really basic campsite, but I found that perfect hideaway spot. It's under some trees. I have some shade. It's great. I still have good internet connection, which is awesome because I can work. And I met these couple of elderly Kiwi women, and they were so nice, and we were talking, and they just invited me over for dinner for this night. They have a bigger camper van, and it's just things that, here it's kind of normal. People do this. In Germany, never ever would one invite you for having dinner with them unless you, I don't know, save their children from getting hit by a car or I don't know what. But yeah, it's just different here in New Zealand. But up until then, I want to do a hike. I wanted to do kind of a bigger hike, but I think because it's now so late, because I was grocery shopping and all these things, I'll just see whether I can get to St. Arnaud, can park my car up here and probably do a smaller hike or so, because I think there's not enough time for the one I wanted to do today, which is 6 hours. And then tomorrow I want to do a really big one, which is apparently 9 hours. Yeah, so let's see how that gets on. I'll try to get into St. Arnaud, get some cash, because you have to pay the campsite with cash, which is rare in New Zealand. Most of the people do everything with card, and you can book campsites online. This one I couldn't. Yeah, so I'll get there, and apparently they have a boat show going on the lake, so I'll just might check out the boat show as well. Yeah, but just good times. It's just peaceful nature, just a great thing. Just good day to be alive, though.
I watched the boat show for a little while before heading into the forest to hike what I believe was the St. Arnaud range track. While I enjoyed the Abel Tasman track as well, I just felt so at peace with everything while walking through the green forest, and once again noticed that hiking the mountains became more and more what I enjoyed the most on my trip so far. Soon after leaving the tree line behind, this trek, despite not even being the one I came for to Nelson Lakes, offered incredible views, and the best thing was that I was literally the only person hiking there. Nelson Lakes already started to probably become my favorite place on my trip yet. Walking along the ridgeline with no one around and finally taking a well-deserved break, I once again felt this massive gratitude towards my past self that had taken the decision to go on this adventure, which I was longing for so long.
Another day, another hike. Today's probably gonna be the most difficult hike I've done so far. It's called the Angeles Track via Roberts Ridge, which is one day hike version to get to Angeles Hut, which usually is a 2-day walk or 2-day hike. And I checked the All Trails app, and the reviews were like everything from beautiful but tough to outright dangerous. So we'll see how far I come. But I'm excited because apparently you walk along a ridge line, which gives you some beautiful views. I woke up really early and came to the car park so I could start super early, because the trek on the sign it says 6 hours, but in All Trails they say it's more like 8.5. So we'll see. So I think good fun ahead. Let's see how it plays out. I mean, I'm not even in for 30 minutes or so, already a bit exhausted, but the views are already ridiculous, and we're not at the top. And then we're gonna start walking all over the ridge, like it's gonna be views on views everywhere. I mean, look at it. That's just freaking beautiful. Oh, yeah, this is why you try to wake up early, right? To do something like this as a little morning walk.
Roberts Ridge Track starts out with a very steep initial incline. So once I had wrestled myself up to the tilt point, I had to give myself a break for a few minutes, enjoying some of the best views in a while.
Now is really the time to put sunscreen on, because all the way from here it's just going to be plain rocks and ridgeline, and you're exposed to the sun for most of the time. And there's something about the New Zealand and Australian sun that's just so brutal, because we're right underneath the hole in the ozone layer, and it's so strong, like it burns you in minutes if you're not really tanned, like naturally. So yeah, getting some FPS 50 on, and then on we go. So it's been cold this morning. I felt really cold, woke up during the night a couple of times, but this is ice. This shows how cold it was, because I reckon down there at the lake it was probably like 4 or 5 degrees. Up here it must have been freezing, obviously.
Walking along the Roberts Ridge felt increasingly more like walking on Mars, with almost no vegetation but just plain red-colored rocks. And it's actually hard to describe how insane the scenery unfolded around me. At that point, I was again regretting not having my drone with me, as the footage must have looked amazing.
So I'm recording this now with my phone because I put the camera away, because it gets increasingly more rocky. And yeah, probably difficult. So I didn't want to carry the camera in my hand, because then if I fall I just smash it and all these things. Yeah. So there was a couple of signs that the track gets more difficult from here, and I'm yet to find out, because so far it's fine. But yeah, they never really lie about the difficulty of the track. So yeah, I'm quite excited, a bit scared, but yeah, I want to do it. So let's go on.
Soon, I was more scrambling than hiking.
Okay, I think I now know why they said the track's getting more difficult, because it seems like you're going all the way over this, and before that you need to scramble through that kind of avalanche field. Yeah, on the other side it's just about the same thing, very steep. Don't want to slip here, but I can see how this is mad difficult when you do it when there's snow here. You'll find up here quite often is this, and it's like a moss kind of thing, but it, like, honestly, it feels like a carpet. It feels like those heavy duty carpets that sometimes you have in, I don't know, in gymnastic halls or something. It's really interesting feel. Nice. Don't know what it is, but it feels really cool. Okay, Almost there. Almost made it. This behind me. Down there. Yeah. That's Lake Angeles or Angeles Lake, and there's the Angeles Hut. And the sign said it's just about 1 kilometer and 30 minutes to go. So let's get down there and have a good break and eat some pancakes. But oh, it looks lovely. Really nice. So the last bit was, it had some really steep bits about it. I think it's difficult to see now. But yeah, still, it's a great hike. It's really nice. Pretty rewarding, I guess, when you're finally down there.
After a last somewhat steep descent, I finally reached Angeles Hut. And at that point I was certain this was the best hike I had done.
This is Lake Angeles and Angeles Hut. Pretty bloody remarkable. And the way that it looks. Surrounded by plenty of mountains, and it looks like a crater. Probably it is one. Yeah, took me a good 3.5 hours to get up here, and because I still want to get to Picton from here, which is a 1.5 to 2 hour drive, I think I need to depart quite soon-ish.
On my way back, I met more and more hikers doing the same track, and once again I was so happy I had chosen to start so early that I had not met a single soul on my way to Lake Angeles. The views on the way back were just as incredible, and I started to realize that this was pretty much the last time I would be able to enjoy a scenery like that, as the North Island, which I was soon to be heading to, would not offer views like this one. At the same time, I felt there couldn't have been a better ending to my 4 weeks on the South Island than this marvelous hike.
This is Camp Bay, Queen Charlotte Track it says. I think that's pretty amazing. So it's March the 18th and I'm just about to do the crossing to the North Island